It's happy hour again at the Banter Bar. So this week, I'm again trying to clear some stuff out. This was meant for a different crowd, but holidays are crazy. So I'm going to go ahead and try all of the girly drinks and answer some questions along the way. I will try to be short because I don't think I'm going to love most of this. Spoiler, but we'll see. These are, from what I understand, all malt beverages, which means they are brewed with barley malt, which is one of the primary ingredients in beer. So you would think that these are beers, but my understanding also is that they don't have hops, so they're not categorized the same as beers. They are fruited malt beverages. Let's give them a shot. First up is Mike's Hard Black Cherry Lemonade. Lord. It was smoking out the top. Kind of freaked me out. I'll set it over there while it bubbles so you can see. The question is flirting a form of cheating? I will give you my opinion momentarily. Be sure to let me know in the comments what you think. Okay, so the thing about a drink like this, it's carbonated nicely. It smells great. I'm sure it's going to taste good, very sugary. The sugary, fruity thing is why I've typically heard them referred to as girly drinks, even though I think of that as a misnomer. What even is girly, apart from something misogynistic that we're used to in language. Anyway, it smells great. It smells like a Coca-Cola, like a cherry Coke is what I'm getting off the top. What I'm not getting is any of the beer note that I'm used to. So, there's no hop there, and I'm trying not to hold it against it if you can't tell. Whatever, let's taste it. Okay, so the reason that this kind of wins straight away is not just the black cherry and the similarity to a cherry Coke, but also the lemonade. It gives it a tartness that you really need with something this sweet. And it is sweet. If you were sitting around all night drinking this, you would get plastered and then sick. It's 5%, which is pretty decent. Most normal beers will run about that. So, If I didn't want to drink something as heavy or as alcoholic as a dark wine, and I wanted something that reminded me more of soda, this would definitely be my go-to. I feel right now like I've got a giant Sonic drink in my hand. I can't really tell this is alcoholic, so another plus that I would give to it. I may have poured a bit too much in this cup. I forget that I'm by myself. Yeah, don't want to get too lit straight away today. It's going to sound crazy, but I will give this one a 7. I do think that it's great. Again, maybe I'm just craving soda because it is earlier in the day. It's not the evening when we'd normally be recording, so. Nice place to start. It is getting too sweet, so that's why I definitely wouldn't go any higher. And the flavor is going to get old eventually, probably about the time you're drunk and getting sick on something like this. Is flirting a form of cheating? I don't like the question for a number of reasons. One, my opinion isn't going to be everyone's opinion. I think you definitely need to know if your partner thinks that flirting is a form of cheating. As a general rule, I would think no, because it's conversational, but I think for a lot of people, the emotional connection to another person might be worse than the physical connection to another person. The problem is that when we talk about cheating, I think of cheating another person. If we are doing things that the other doesn't approve of. Why is that relegated specifically to the physical or the intimate aspect of a relationship? It's always baffled me. I don't think, I find it extremely difficult to believe that you could cheat someone by experiencing anything with another person unless you are leaving your relationship or subtracting what you put into your relationship. How are you cheating anybody? That's my hot take. I'm somebody who has made every attempt to get over the jealousy that's ingrained into us by society with regard to relationships and their structure. But I know most of the world doesn't agree with me, so it is what it is. Let's try our next drink. And no, the next drink is not water. Although for me it might be. Jack Daniel's Southern Peach. I think what we have here, by the way, is pretty much what you see on the shelves. You got your Mike's, your Seagrams, your Jack Daniels, and your Smirnoff at this point. I think that pretty much encapsulates all of the brands that are out there. Probably wrong, I'm missing a few, but that's okay. And once again, I poured quite a bit of that. Not as much. Question is, what are you most likely to use a calculator for? The smartass in me just wants to say to do math without thinking about it, but I don't think that's the idea. So this smells like peach, and it actually smells more like peach in a beer. Or maybe even peach in a liquor drink. It doesn't smell insanely sweet or like a soda off the top. It is sweet. It is just as sweet as the other one. The fruit note tastes more natural. Again, it tastes like it was brewed in the drink itself, which I doubt. Usually it's just artificial flavoring added after the fact to these drinks. But I like the characteristic of it. Even though it doesn't get me where this one did, I still think the flavor here is nice. And it may give you more mileage, especially if you like peach. But this isn't that fake peach flavor or even scent that you're used to. It feels more like natural, what you get when you are biting into a peach. I'm going to give it a 6. Most likely to use a calculator for. I mean, I use it at work all the time to figure out insurance premiums, but primarily what I use the calculator for is to get percentages and stuff like that for the podcast that I help run, the Rated Radio podcast. Easy answer. Normally, I'm not using a calculator too much on my personal laptop because I live in Excel, so I can just have Excel do the equations for me. Very strange question, very boring answers. I apologize. Let's go ahead and move on. A fun fact, I almost put on a wig and makeup for this episode specifically because I was kind of saving this stuff for my sisters, and I'm going to do something fun for them in the future. We're going to be seeing a lot more of them. If you've been coming to the show and you're looking for better representation of the female gender or even just different perspectives, I won't be on all the time, and we will have episodes where there are no males on the show at all. So look forward to that and the perspectives that brings. This straight looks like ocean water. Actually, ocean water may not even look like that, I'm not sure. But the Boone's Farm, Blue Hawaiian, I think. This is Seagram's Escapes Calypso Colada. It's supposed to have pineapple and coconut flavors, and it is only 3.2% ABV. This one was 4.8. Okay, so this one's lower, so I'm expecting it to be sweeter. They don't need to be sweeter, but Seagrams, we'll see. Our question is, which spice do you have the greatest aversion to? Meaning, which do you really not like, if anyone's confused? All right, so off the top, it kind of smells like a pina colada. A lot more than it smells like an ocean water. But I can tell it's fake. It definitely feels like it's going to be insanely sweet. And the fakeness reminds me of like a shampoo or a conditioner. Maybe even a candle or an aerosol spray, more air freshener, more so than a drink. But let's see. It's really not bad. It is way too sweet. It's almost oily in the mouth because it's that sweet. It may have something to do with the coconut too. But if you like pina coladas, if you like coconut or pineapple, you're really going to get down with this so long as you don't have a hatred of sweetness, because there's a little too much here. I could put it in ice or blend it with ice and it would probably be a lot better. This is the sort of thing I could see taking and making into a mixed drink. It feels more like a mixer that's just poorly mixed with something else than it does a full-on drink. So I think you could, put it in a blender with some ice and maybe some rum, and you'd have yourself something decent. Or good. Because this, I would say, it's a 5. It is decent. There's nothing horrible about it, but I shudder to imagine the calories in this drink. Usually the higher the alcohol percentage, the lower the calorie count is going to be for things like this. When you get to beers, it can be a very different story. So a lot of IPAs have very high alcohol content, and yet they are very high in calories. If you don't know, now you know. There are a lot of spices, and I don't really hate much of anything. I think usually everything has its place in the kitchen. There are some spices that I don't really use much, though. Things like thyme, those like Thanksgiving type of spices. I don't use them much. They feel too specific. I think it's just growing up eating that flavor like once a year. So, the rosemary and the thyme and herb de Provence or whatever it is. Like I'm not turning to that in the kitchen most of the time. So it's the best I can do. Next up is another Mike's. This one is their hard peach lemonade. So more peach. And the majority of these are twist-offs. So sorry for using my bottle opener, but what are you going to do? It just seems more natural to me after all this time drinking beer. This is another 5%er. Claiming to have natural flavors. Okay, so a few things. I poured too much and I didn't clean that glass. Question is, what's the name of a book you never finished reading? Although I'm the one who has to answer the question here. There's not a lot to the smell of this. It may be that I'm going down more and more, and these are extreme scents coming off the top of most of them. And maybe I'm just too used to it and overwhelmed. But there's not a lot here. It still smells soda-esque. I think if I'm taking anything away from this so far, it's that Mike's has a soda thing going on, which I don't mind. It smells like Sprite or maybe a ginger ale. Yeah. And the Seagrams felt really flat. This one right here was okay. This one felt super flat. I like in these sugary type drinks, it's probably because I've drank soda my entire life, but I look for, something that has that carbonated pop. And that's there. There's not a whole lot of flavor. I think that may be because it's lemonade. And again, it's 5%. So you throw in the carbonation, it's sugary, it's got the lemonade bite to it. All of those things combined really hide the peach a little bit, but it's not bad. It's just barely there. And again, I don't like it as much as I like this one, but I will say a 6. And the name of a book I never finished reading, the one that always comes to mind immediately because I keep meaning to go back to it. And the problem with that is you feel like you have to start all over, right? You open it up and you might catch glimpses of what you knew already happened. But most of the time with books, you're engrossed from beginning to end, or you just kind of lose track. But it's Watchers, I think is what it's called, by Dean Koontz. Yeah. Story about a man and a dog, I think. And I'm pretty sure the dog is conscious or has some sort of, escaped government experiment thing going on. I haven't finished it. I don't know. It was really good what I read of it. But usually I will finish a book. It's not to say that one wasn't worth finishing because it definitely gave that impression. There are a few. I think 1984 I never finished either. I wound up watching the movie halfway through the book, and then I know I did myself a disservice there. I will eventually get these things done, but haven't yet. Next up is Smirnoff Ice, the original. It's supposed to have natural lemon lime flavor. It is 4.5%. And when I said the Mike's was carbonated, I was definitely not kidding or wrong, because I poured stuff into a glass that I didn't end up using. And then I poured it out, and I can hear it fizzing over to my side now. So, quite interesting. Our question is, what's the worst road rage you've experienced? Okay, so lemon lime doesn't come through as much. Again, I think that's just being used to drinking things like Sprite or 7-Up. But I'm not getting too much of it off the top. It mostly smells like it's going to be a lightly flavored seltzer water. Unusual case of me wanting something to be sweeter, because that's almost always my problem with seltzers. It is sweeter. It's also carbonated pretty nicely. The lemon lime it's there. It's just a hint. It definitely doesn't overpower the sweetness. So it's more like, eating a pie. So if you've had like a sweet lemon pie, that's what it is. And think like a tasty cake thing, not like a homemade lemon pie, because those tend to be undersweet, over tart. So that's how I like it, but not for everybody. I don't want to knock it and call it decent just because it's not something overly flavorful. If you're, just looking for something basic that you can drink and not think too much about, this is a good option. And I will again say 6. I do think it's good. So nothing wrong with that. And somewhere in my memory banks, it's just kicking me. Like, hey, you got drunk to this plenty of times a long, long time ago. So I'm going to cheat on my partner a little bit here and say that the worst road rage I've experienced, I could tell you stories of my own. I'm that person who occasionally flips someone off, or somebody rides up on me and they won't get off my ass. And so I just turn the cruise control off and let the car slow down on its own until they go around me. I get angry when people do dumb shit, and I feel that urge to follow them home and ask them why they drive the way they do, that sort of thing. But worst road rage I've actually experienced was when my wife was driving. She got super upset. We were lost in downtown Dallas, one of the only times I can ever remember either of us being lost. And we exited, and someone was just, I don't remember what it was. I think they were on her ass, and then they sped around her right at like a light, and she got pissed off and completely spun the car around in the middle of this intersection. I don't know. It was interesting, but that was the worst, and she calmed down pretty quickly. Just very out of character, so sorry, love of my life. Final is another Seagram's. Escapes. Again, 3.2 ABV, so it's low in alcohol content. This is Jamaican Me Happy. Isn't that clever? I like the color. I can say that Seagram's definitely gets color right. This one's supposed to have lemon, strawberry, watermelon, and guava. And to be perfectly honest, I don't know what guava tastes like on its own. But we'll see. If I'm tasting anything other than sugar, lemon, strawberry, and watermelon, I'll know it's guava. Question is, who's the greatest film director of all time? This smells pretty good. You know, I'm used to pina colada, so I don't want to turn to this. This one smells different. It's a nice light fruit thing they've got going on. I can tell it's watermelon. It also feels like kiwi. It's better carbonated than this one was. Maybe my imagination, I don't know. And not quite as sugary, which you can I can see it anyway. This is really thick. I can see through this bottle. So there's not quite as much sugar there. And I have to say the fruit notes in this one pop really nicely. The moment it enters your mouth, it's just bright. And it sticks around. You know, it's not heavy by any stretch. It's definitely not a beer. I'm going to go with a 7 again on this one, though. The fruit interplay on this one is great. So if I was looking for a soda, I'm going to turn to this. And this would be my other contender for top brew. Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, barbecue, beach setting, whatever it is, I could see having these around and drinking them. So pretty high praise. I've never had that one before, too. I think I've had most of the rest of these. This one in particular tends to be a staple for most of the people who drink this sort of thing that are around in my orbit at events and things like that. So if anyone's out there and you're going to an event and you know that, you know, people will be drinking this sort of thing, you could turn to this, but have everyone give this a shot too. Greatest film director of all time. That's a tall order of a question. I hate that I'm alone answering this question. I'm always wanting to say Francis Ford Coppola, and that's because 2 of my favorite movies of all time were done by Coppola, and that would be The Godfather and Finian's Rainbow. Very different films, but they really highlight what he's capable of. He's done other great things too. I'm just not crazy about all of his work, though, so it's hard to call him my favorite. The one I find myself most obsessed with as time goes by, all walks of what he's done and what I've seen, there have only been 1 or 2 like that I just... What was that? Scorsese. Martin Scorsese is where I will land, for now at least. I'm most likely not thinking of hundreds of other directors that I know and love, or I just don't know that a lot of great movies that I love were done by the same director. You may be in the same boat, but if you're not, let me know. And thank you for sticking with me through this solo episode of the misogynistically titled Girly Drinks. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments, and we'll see you next week. Same time, same place, for another round at the Banter Bar. Farewell, beer snobs.
I'll just leave you a little sip in case you want to go back.
I appreciate the sip. I think I could drink
I just want to see how it feels in my mouth.
I guess we'll see you next time.
On the Banter Bar.
Alone, tipsy on the girly drinks. I lead a wonderful life.